This week, I'm headed out to the ranch for some cold weather camping after a few days of much needed rain. One of the main reasons I purchased the off-grid trailer's Expedition 2.0 is because I wanted a trailer that could go anywhere my 4Runner could. As you can see from the footage, having a four-wheel drive capable vehicle enables you to get to your campsite regardless of most conditions. I say most conditions because the county road leading out to the ranch is sandy loam, so when it's wet, it can get slicker than ice to drive on. Not only have I had two-wheel drive vehicles wind up in the ditch, but also friends with four-wheel drive, so it's not a perfect system. In my experience, the best option is just enable the 4Runner's four-wheel drive traction features, drive cautiously, and don't overbrake.
stuff.
Y'all out there? All right, let's get this thing moving.
Don't care how long you gone, how long you stay. Hey, good time treatment, bring you home one day. But someday, baby, you ain't gonna trouble for me. Yeah.
Good morning. Another week is upon us, another opportunity to go camping. I'm actually doing some midweek camping this time instead of weekend, mostly because the weather's been pretty sloppy over the weekends, and this is the first opportunity I've got to actually get out and do some cold weather camping. And just wanted to share some experiences with you guys, because there's been some things I've learned camping over the last couple of days in 20-degree weather out here, specifically around the furnace. So I know if you've watched any of my previous videos, you'll know that I was on the fence about getting the Propex furnace option on this trailer when I first bought it. And what tipped me over the balance was, a comment about getting out of the shower when it's cold and being able to get into a warm cabin. And that kind of convinced me that it was a good idea to go ahead and get the option. But beyond that, now that I've actually been able to use the furnace pretty regularly over the last couple of days, I tell you, if you're on the fence about that investment, I say go ahead and do it, especially if you live in a cold state. Of course, I live in Texas where it doesn't get cold that often, but when it does, it's cold enough to be able to warrant the need for a furnace. So last couple of days, it's been about in the 20s here at night, which I know you guys up north are probably laughing at that, but down here, when you've got 83% humidity and it's in the 20s, it can get pretty cold. So having a furnace that you can turn on and warm up the cabin is instrumental in being able to sleep comfortably. I've tested the furnace a couple times prior to this week, but just to make sure that it functions and that I kind of get some experience with it. But running it all night was definitely interesting. So for those of you who don't know, these trailers can come with a Propex furnace. It's an option. I think it's about a $1,500 option, so it's not cheap, which is why a lot of people kind of waver on it. But what's interesting about these trailers is that because they're so insulated, and I'll show you an example because I don't think I've ever actually shown anybody this, but you'll see just how thick this is, and that's the thickness of the walls all the way around, and there's a lot of insulation inside of that. So on the surface, that's good from a insulation, meaning that once it gets warm, it stays warm. Once it gets cold, it stays cold, depending on your conditions. But that being said, once it does get cold, like out here, it's an ice box, and it takes it a while to warm back up or to cool back down if you're in the summer months. So it's definitely something where you get in the cabin, it might be in the 20s outside, it's in the 40s inside the cabin, maybe even the high 30s. So being able to run a furnace to cool it, to warm it up is definitely worth it. Now, what's interesting about this is it does have a thermostat. So when you turn it on, it will, get to a certain temperature, whatever you set it to, and then it shuts itself off. And then as the temperature falls in the cabin, it'll turn itself back on and run again. Now, each cycle that this thing does is pretty interesting because it'll kick on and blow basically cold air for the first, say, 15-20 seconds. And then you'll hear the furnace kick on with the actual heater, and then it just blows solid hot air. So this thing isn't like your typical HVAC where it might condition the air to be a certain temperature. This thing just blast straight up hot air coming out of it until it gets to a certain temperature, and then it shuts off, which is okay. It means it warms it up fairly quickly. But if you're sleeping on the right side of the cabin, the vent for the furnace is right there, and so you're getting a face full of hot air pretty much all night. So it's a little bit of a challenge if you're doing dual sleepers, or if you're a single sleeper, you probably want to sleep further to the left just to stay out of the path of that really hot air. But that's been my experience with it, and I would not trade it for the world at this point. And knowing how much more comfort I have running the furnace throughout the night allowed me to stay nice and toasty warm, even though it was frosty out here this morning, which was pretty interesting. So again, the furnace, just as a tip, if you're looking to buy any kind of trailer, really, it doesn't have to be these Expeditions. It can be any kind of trailer that has that as an option. Even if you live in a warm state, go ahead and get it, because in 1 or 2 nights when it's a cold camp night, you're going to want it. And that'll make coming out cold camping a lot more enjoyable, right? You'll be able to last longer. You'll be able to not be as fatigued, not muscle cramps, all that good stuff, because you'll be nice and warm. Second thing I want to talk about, which I really didn't get a lot of detail on last time, is the Light Ranger. So this bad boy is made by, I think it's Devos or Devos. I don't know how you actually say their name, but it's called a Light Ranger, and it's really an area light for campers. And what's interesting about this is that there's a couple of reasons why I bought this particular model over some of the competitor models that are out there. One is it's a 9-foot mast. So when you extend the tripod all the way up, you get it up at about 9 feet high, which you get better dispersion of the light. Your bugs are a little higher up off the camp, and if you've got tall people in your party, you don't have to worry about them getting blinded by the light. The majority of the competitors that I've seen, I think they max out at 7 feet. So for you know, just for food for thought, the higher up, the better, in my opinion. When you buy these lights, by default, they comes with the light and the tripod and a stake that allows you to kind of keep it in the ground and keep the tripod from falling over. The optional things that I went ahead and got were the top hat solar panel. So it's a little 10-watt solar panel that just clips onto the top of the light, and full day it'll charge it up. So I just leave it attached, and that way I don't have to worry about it. You might notice that little yellow filter around it. So I also bought the filter kit, which gives you red, yellow, and I think amber. And that way you can have varying types of lighting depending on your needs. I kind of like the yellow because it's softer than that stark white LED light, and it kind of gives you like a street light effect, you know, street lamp kind of thing. It does have 4 LEDs, so on max power it will light up a really good sized area. You know, you can go through different modes, so you can have 2 lights, 1 light. You can dim it by holding the power switch and it'll dim the lights. You know, all those are for conserving power if you don't need full-on blast of light. But the only thing I don't like about this, or I wish they would update, is to provide a remote. Because as you can see, once you've extended to 9 feet, in order to change modes, you got to bring it back down, make your mode selection, send it back up. So if they had a remote that allowed you to do that without having to do that, I think would make this thing the perfect light. And it wasn't too expensive. I'll put a link in the description where I got this. I think I got it from their site, but I'm pretty confident you can get it like on Amazon and things like that as well. So just wanted to point that out since I didn't really talk about it much at the last camping video that I made. And finally, well, from a trailer or technology perspective, I wanted to comment on the sink. And I know I've got a little bit of dishes to do this morning after cooking breakfast, but I wanted to point out how something so trivial like a sink can make all the difference, especially if it's plumbed for hot and cold water. So if you've ever done tent camping or any kind of extended camping where you can't do dry cleaning, you actually have to have some sort of wet clean system, it's a pain in the butt. You got to bring a bucket or a bowl, something to actually put the water in. You either got to boil the water or you've got to use cold water. It's just a pain in the butt. So having a sink with hot and cold water makes cleanup so much easier and actually compels you to want to clean your stuff up before you put it away. So I just like to point this out because it's one of those trivial things that you just kind of expect with the trailer. But a lot of people that I talk to or show the trailer to, especially when we're camping, this is actually the centerpiece. A lot of people they're like, oh, I love having a sink right on the trailer, hot and cold water, I can do dishes. It's so much easier to be able to do all this from a station like this instead of having to set everything up to do cleaning. And I've done that line cleaning before. When it comes to like tent camping with a bunch of people, you kind of do this assembly line approach where you got one person washing, another person rinsing, another person drying, that kind of deal. This just makes it completely simple, and it makes, again, having a trailer like this worth it. So I know I'm going on about the sink, but it can't be understated how important these things are, and just, again, creature comforts and being able to stay sanitized or, you know, sanitary when it comes to eating and cleaning, things like that. Last thing I want to talk about, and this is really just my sentiments on the topic of camping. A lot of people reserve their camping weekends for when other people can go with them. You know, like, you know, a lot of people aren't comfortable camping by themselves. They want to camp with friends, and I get it. It's a social thing, and I respect that. I really do, because I enjoy camping with my friends, especially when they're responsible and, you know, we kind of plan this thing out. But I also do a lot of solo camping. I do camp a lot by myself in this trailer. A lot of it has to do with the fact that my friends, you know, the schedules don't work out. They've got other things going on, whatever. The point is don't be afraid to go camping by yourself. And if you're tent camping or if you're trailer camping, it doesn't really matter. Don't be afraid to go to state parks or find a place where you know, a private park, whatever, and camp by yourself. I know it sounds weird, but there is, you know, mental health reasons for camping by yourself, in my opinion. Being able to get out, just kind of recenter yourself, think about things that are going on, you know, focus on something else other than the problems that you might be having. But I just find a lot of people are a little bit timid about camping by themselves. They either aren't comfortable with their own skill sets or they don't feel like they have the right equipment. But the more you do it, the more you'll feel compelled to do it. So since I've had this trailer, I try to get out every weekend, you know, and if I can't, I try to get out during the week. You guys have seen from my videos, I'm pretty obsessive about this stuff because I have found a lot of value in being able to step away from the rat race for a few days and just enjoy being outdoors and really doing it. And if I have to do it alone, so be it. And I'm okay with that. I'm comfortable with myself enough to be able to do that. So if you're on the fence about doing any kind of camping, especially now that the weather's getting really nice, cold weather camping in the south is one of the best times of the year to camp because you're not sweating all the time. It's enjoyable. There's campfires. I mean, it's a really nice time of year to go camping. And if you can't get other people to go with you, then go alone, right? Make that commitment to yourself to get out there and really focus on your own mental health and be able to get away from things. So that's about it. I hope everybody's doing great. This is a little bit of an extended video because I am out here for multiple days. I was trying to stretch out the legs on the trailer to see just how long I can go with the setup as I have it. You know, how many days before I have to come back in. And I think really the limiting factor in most cases will be water, you know, just having enough water to get you through. And I've been conserving water pretty aggressively since I've been out here. So I could probably go a week or so without worrying about running out of water. I'd be more concerned about running out of propane because I'm running the furnace every night than I am anything else at this point. Hopefully you guys will enjoy the video and look forward to making another one for you. So thank you so much for the subscriptions, everybody. We're getting close to that 1,000 subscription mark. Once that happens, I can shut off all the ads and have a little bit more control over my my channel than I do today, and make it more enjoyable for you guys to watch these videos. All right, thank you so much, and stay safe, and get out and go camping. Doesn't like having an audience when you're trying to break camp.